Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Dan Tuten here, along with a cybersecurity colleague. I'll let him introduce himself in just a moment. We are talking about the cybersecurity maturity model certification and what it means to get there. So in very, very short brief, it is a framework that DoD has set up to look at making sure that its vendors are protecting the federal cybersecurity information that it passes along. Any controlled unclassified information, any federal contracting information is going to be secure in their vendors. And this is the framework that they're using to do that. So I'm going to turn to my colleague. Damian, introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi, I'm Damian Mehsling. I've been doing cybersecurity work, mainly risk and compliance, for 12 plus years. The last 4 or 5 years, been dealing with CMMC pretty heavily. Recently, find myself looking for a new role, so in the market. Gotta advertise that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Damian. So, Damian and I met across LinkedIn, and part of the reason we got together is Damian has built a tool that aids in tracking CMMC compliance. So that's kind of the focus of our conversation today. So I'm going to kind of play the role of interviewer and allow Damian to share some more stuff about his tool that he's created for helping organizations attain compliance, or to help auditors track the compliance for organizations that they're working on. So with that being said, Damian, what inspired you initially to create this CMMC tool that you developed?
Mainly dealing a lot with Excel. Most jobs that I've worked at has been primarily Excel. Even if there's a better enterprise tool, there's always like working in Excel. If you've got acquisitions coming on, consulting engagements, project work, and yeah, just kind of dealing with the pain of working with static spreadsheets, dealing with different asset classes, tying in your POAMs and things like that. Just needing something a little bit better to scale up and deal with these multiple independent spreadsheets and tying them together. So Power BI, when I discovered that and the quick ability to model your data, connect your different Excel spreadsheets, which you can just really import in very quickly, and then get more information out of it, start getting metrics out of it, start seeing where your issues are, getting more information, just being able to make better decisions and manage your compliance program. Yeah, I looked at a lot of different tools. There's different low-code tools I looked at out there, and I just found Power BI to be just really cool. And so just started seeing what I could do with it.
Not to get too much into the solution, because I know I've asked you to demo it a little bit for us, but one of the things that attracted me to it was the ability to switch to different views and the scope of the analysis that was being shared on the screen. If I may ask, in your mind, you're the one that put this tool together, and you did it somewhat from a need yourself, but what do you think would be a typical user for this CMMC tool that you've developed?
Like I said, I think it's anybody who's working in Excel already and needs the ability to quickly create different views, different reports, tie different spreadsheets together. You can connect it to SharePoint too, really easily. Quick engagements, things that are already in Excel especially.
Okay.
And they're just taking that information and making better sense of it.
Okay, excellent. All right, could you kind of walk me through your development journey? I know you mentioned some of that. You mentioned, working with Excel initially and your discovery of Power BI. Was there any real kind of epiphany moment where you're like, hey, this is something that I've been working on. I should share this with others?
Yeah, I think the intent was always to, if I create something that provides value for myself,
Mm-hmm.
that I know other people are going to want to use it,
Okay.
and why not share it? And so um, I tried to, most of the time, I end up just trying a bunch of things and then figuring out, okay, what is the minimum that somebody else could get value out of without making it overcomplicated.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, I'll generally overcomplicate it at first and then just kind of fine tune it and then say, okay, this would work to release publicly, not make it too complicated for other people to use. I definitely think of the end user in mind when I put out the final version.
Okay. Were there any real big challenges? I've used Power BI and connected up to Excel. Were there any big challenges that you had to overcome putting things together?
A lot of learning, a lot of iterative development, figuring out what works, what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
With this particular one, the one of the goals was to be able to do an assessment against individual assets, and be able to provide a view over all of those assets with a combined scoring for your entire CUI scope, your
Excellent.
entire CMMC boundary. And once I figured that out, it took a while. It was kind of difficult. Wasn't too much resources out there to directly tell me how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There could be better ways, and I'm always figuring out better ways to do things as I go along. But I think this one worked out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with this one.
Yeah, I would concur. I think it's a quality tool. So I do have a couple more questions, but not to put you on the spot. But can we have you walk us through the tool and what you put together, and then we'll wrap up with a few other questions.
Green, I should put this on. There we go.
Okay, have your screen.
Let me notice in front of me. All right, you see this?
Yep, got it.
So at the top is where each of these that you see in this dropdown, this
Mm-hmm.
assessment, is an individual Excel checklist of your CMMC controls. So with CMMC, you're required to do assessments on things like security protection assets, you have your risk managed assets, and then you have your CUI boundary scope as a whole. Each of those systems may not have all the controls needed. And so you're able to tailor down your checklist and then just assess those controls that apply to that asset. And then this creates a combined scoring, giving you a SPRS score across all your assets. Then you're able to see where you might have some gaps, and then you can tie your programs into those individual assets. So if you had Windows and Linux and Macs, you can assess those individually. If you're missing MFA on one of them, you can then track that and know exactly which assets are failing and then tie those to your program. So for like your entire CUI enclave, you just maybe one big scope assessment. You can do it that way. You can just look at mobile devices and it will show you the scoring, what poems you have tied to that. So this table here is broken down by family. You can expand this down to the controls within those families. And then down further, and this is what I think a lot of people miss and what I hear is your individual assessment objectives too, and ensuring that you've looked at each one of those and then answer your implementation for those.
Okay.
I also created here just a level 1 versus level 2. So if you have just level 1, this will filter this table down just to level 1 controls. What else I have here? So I also broke it down by NIST versus CMMC. They're the same controls, just different control numbers, I guess you would call them.
Okay.
See, and if I unselect all of these, then I get my total view. This is my view across all of my assets. This is my control requirements. Click here, and this shows all 320 individual assessment objectives. And what I really like about Power BI is this dynamic filtering. So if I just wanted to see, I see here 21 in this demo. This is just demo data. And it really probably doesn't even make sense. Some of this just kind of threw all the controls up there and created this kind of view so people can see it. If I click on not met, it'll filter this table down to not met.
Gotcha.
Which is not applicable. And as I click anywhere in here, like if I want to see, so my SPRS score, I have a 5, I can click on them and just see which ones have which SPRS scores. And then it filters all the tables. And then showing over here which poems and their status. And there's a column here. It's really easy for users to add whatever columns they want to view. I can just click on, see which ones have poems due.
Okay.
Let's do a little bit better view. And I created a little assessment due to, which automatically looks at if you've set a due date and you pass that due date, which tracks the current date of today. It'll show which ones are past that due date and ready for reassessment.
Okay.
And then some cool what they call tooltips that you can get quick view. So if I'm looking at the full scope of this assessment, I'm looking at, say, 311, just by hovering over, I can see which assets have been assessed and their status. And if I want to go further into, you can drill through, look at the assessment details. It shows that same view, but in a different page. And again, with more filters that you can filter down on poem status, and then your specific asset assessments. And if something is, let's say, not met, and I want to see what poems are applied, I can drill through again, look at my poems.
Nice. Interesting segue. We actually have some more questions specifically talking about features and versions and so forth. Did you go through a kind of a thought process of what you wanted included in this first version? Were there things that you left out that you plan to pull into a later version?
Yeah, definitely risk assessments was a big thing that I'd like to pull into a tool, really to get a full CMMC, I guess, a GRC tool. You need a little bit more. This would be good for kind of a management overview.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with Excel, you can't input data directly into Power BI, at least not easily. So dealing with more tables gets a little bit complicated. So I've been working on some things that would help kind of bring a full database app experience.
Okay.
And then Power BI is the visualization and reporting side of it.
Okay.
It's really great for just that dynamic reporting, and then tying it into the full Power Platform with Power Apps, Power Automate. That my hope is to really build out a full GRC tool that can do risk, track year, different findings and POAMs separately, asset inventories, things like that.
Okay. Sounds fascinating. This is definitely a good entry level tool. I'm as I mentioned, I'm kind of on my own CMMC journey. I'm seeking to acquire the CMMC certification professional and auditing certifications during the next couple months. So I was very pleased to find this tool as kind of something that I can leverage as I move through that process, and then start auditing with organizations. So we've talked about the tool. We've talked about how it came into being, some future iterations. So how do people get in contact with you to either support your efforts, maybe share some of their lessons learned that you might incorporate into the next version of the tool, or just to be able to be notified when you have new versions of the tool? How do they get a hold of you?
LinkedIn is my primary contact place where I deal with most of my work, advertising it, and communication right now. So, like I mentioned, I'm building out a full GRC tool with Power Apps.
Okay.
Hopefully within the next week, I should have a Discord server, Discord channel where I can communicate with people. People can give feedback on ideas, any issues they experience, get some additional help around how to use it. It is very powerful. There's a lot of options with these tools. So it does take a little bit of learning, but once you learn it, you just have way more flexibility in what you can do.
Excellent. So with your permission, I will insert your LinkedIn information when I edit this video for consumption before it gets posted. And if by chance you have your Discord information, we can put that up as well. If not, it's easy enough for me to add it into the description for the video without having to edit the video after it's posted. And that way they've got a couple of different ways to contact you relevant to this tool. I thank you for your help in talking us through the tool, for building the tool in the first place to kind of help the CMMC community, and look forward to seeing what the next versions are. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice talking to you. Thanks for having me.